Good evening. My name is JC Cantrell, and I will be giving you a class on ground guiding this evening. Learning objectives for ground guiding this evening's class is going to be talking about the purpose of ground guides, or otherwise known as spotters, safety, PPE, hand signals, low visibility, and the procedure. Ground guiding purpose. So why do we have ground guides? Most people may think, well, I can back into a stall, or I can pull into a parking lot, but there are certain things that become risk concerns, and we need to reduce the risk in all efforts to reduce injury and death if in the event we are using oversized equipment, going into large or small confined spaces with large or small vehicles, reverse operations, and blind spots. So all of those are the reasons in which we can use ground guides to reduce incidents. By using ground guides, it also enhances safety. The purpose of ground guides is also creates one universal method of communication, which is hand signals. Most would think that voice is also a form of the communication to be used. However, one misconception about voice when you're using it as a signal in this aspect is that voice can be misunderstood and is also not universal. Second learning objective, safety. So there are some things to consider when you are learning about ground guiding that directly relate to safety and why it is required. So just a few hot topics on those is 2 ground guides, or otherwise spotters, is the preferred method. Is it always feasible? No. But at all times, when and if possible, you should use 2 ground guides, one in the front, one in the rear, or depending on the equipment, you could also potentially be required to put them on the sides. For example, when I would used to do work as a unit movement officer and we work on a rail yard, whenever you are loading a flat car, it is required to have a ground guide or a safety or a spotter on all 4 sides. So you need to have someone in the front of the rail car, the rear of the equipment going onto the rail car, and then one person kind of even with the equipment on the ground on both the left and the right side of the rail car. So in that case, you're going to have 4 spotters. Also, safety is a direct impact on injuries, not just injuries of the personnel in the vehicle, but also injuries of personnel in the area in which the vehicle and or equipment is operating. Safety is a contributing factor to damage also. So the safer we are, the less damage we have on equipment and property. And then that also, by being safe and practicing all of those, we increase the efficiency, which then reduces lost time and complaciveness in the work area. And then we have PPE, personal protective equipment. So this learning objective was a very, very vague. So PPE really depends on the specific piece of equipment in which you are spotting or grounding that is moving. So for example, if you are on a construction site and they are moving a bulldozer, you may be required to wear a reflective vest and steel-toed boots in that environment. So PPE for ground guiding, through all my research, is really not directly related to the equipment, but more or less the PPE that is required to operate the equipment or be in the environment in which you are functioning in. So a few things that I wanted to make note that are common amongst almost everything through my research is hard hats or some type of head protective equipment, eye pro, ear pro, and eye pro. So glasses, gloves, and hearing protection, and those would typically be worn in accordance with the environmental considerations for which you're operating in. Steel-toe boots, reflective vests, and then for low visibility, part of your PPE would be illumination device. Most common would be a flashlight. So check on learning from the first 3. So first question, hand signals are a primary method of communication for ground guide signals. And false. The correct answer is hand signals are the only authorized method of communication. Question 2, you can only walk backwards while ground guiding if you have 2 guides. False. Walking backwards while ground guiding is never authorized. Once the wheeled equipment is near the ground, excuse me, the ground guide signals for the driver to stop, and then ground guides will move and then signal them to start again. PPE, third question, and then we'll move on to the next discussion. PPE will depend and vary on the condition in the specific mission or task in which you are working. And that is true. So now we're going to move into the largest learning objective of the class, which is hand signals. So depending on the environment or the company in which you work for, they're going to have standard operating procedures and local policies that govern the equipment which is used in their facility. So as you see on the picture here, the guy is wearing some of the PPE, the vest, the headgear, the gloves, but that's probably in accordance with local policy, OSHA, and regulations, or even requirements of the type of vehicle that they're operating, that equipment is worn. So we're going to stick to 5 of the basic hand signals. There are many hand signals, and the hand signals is not a only one signal for forward movement. If you do research, you'll find that there are several variations of hand signals. However, they are almost all similar. So we're going to go over forward movement, slow down, stop, or otherwise known as halt, left and right turn, and then moving in reverse. So I have just a visual and we're going to talk through it. So you'll see in the picture that the arms are moving towards you and your palms will be faced towards you. So if you do it right now and put your hands like knife hands, you'll see that your hands are thin, which creates a smaller visual. So you can see that my hands are smaller. Now, if you put your palms towards you and move your palms towards you like this in a large, smooth, concise movement, it creates a larger surface area right here for the driver to see, or the operator. So remember to keep your palms flat towards you versus knife hand, where it creates the smaller surface area for a visual aid. All right. So to move forward, when you have made contact with the driver, you are just simply going to palms towards you and then move in a nice big motion like this. All right. The next one is slow down. So same thing. We're going to pretty much just arms up at a 90 degree and you're going to move up and down. This is all very simple. You're just going to follow the arrows of the photo. And this is if the operator of the equipment or vehicle is driving too fast and you need them to slow the speed in which they're driving. Halt or stop. So once again, you will notice that it is a palm out, not sideways, knife hand, stop, flat. It is a palm out to create the largest surface area possible for a visual aid. Okay, you're not going to go like this, as this is just awkward, also not ergonomically friendly for your wrist. So palms out, stop. Depending on your local policies and procedures, it is common to see a X with fist as stop, kind of like that bad X, stop, right? So this is also common, but for today's classroom purposes, we are going to use the palm out, stop. The next, both motions are the same. It's just going to vary. So if the vehicle or equipment is moving and you want them to go left, you are just simply going to tell them to go left. And it's the full arm movement that is big for the visual aid. And then right. All right. So another common thing that is seen through my research, I saw it in several, is that if you want them to move forward at the same time, it's kind of like move, right? So you're kind of creating a double, you're telling them to keep driving while turning right. So seen it both way in the military. It is common that you will see this because you just don't want someone to think that you want them to turn their wheels. And the last and final hand signal that we will be discussing is the move in reverse. So if you notice, this looks very similar to the forward, as the forward was palms come towards you. This is palms out, come down. So obviously the driver is going to know if they're going in reverse. You are just more or less changing the motion in which your hands. So in forward, they are coming towards you. In reverse, you are pushing them this way. That will make sense when you do it with two people. So you have a ground guide in the front and the rear. All movement is directed from the person in the front. So while you are standing in the front of a vehicle and the vehicle is moving reverse, it is as if you are pushing them backwards. So look at it that way. So low visibility. So you can use all the same hand motions in low visibility. However, you would add illumination source. In the military, a lot of times we use a red lens flashlight or any color flashlight in the civilian side. Another tool that I've seen used in the military, we use just a chem light because we always have chem lights on us. So you break a chem stick, works as a flashlight. Also with your hand signals, you want to make sure that your hand signals are large. You don't want to, if you are doing the forward, make this like this because you don't see a lot of the movement right here as it's already compressed by my chest. So you want to make big, nice, steady motions, full range. And then at low visibility, you want to increase the capability of two ground guides, which also will increase your safety. So a few procedures for the driver, A driver. In the Army, we call it an A driver. OSHA refers it to as a spotter. Civilian references sometimes refer to as a guide. So this is just an example. If it's a vehicle, the spotter is going to dismount, observe the area around, observe the area in which you are going to move the equipment to. And then if you're backing up, you will have a ground guide in the front and the rear. And then you will need to ensure that the spotter maintains eye contact with the driver at all times. If in the event that eye contact is ever broke or you cannot see each other, the driver should stop or the operator should give a halt or a stop and then re-engage with each other and get on the same page. So that way safety is #1 priority. The driver needs to ensure that they always can visually see the guide. Recommended that when you are going into reverse, you sound the horn. That is for anybody or anything that the spotters may be missed. And at any time, if the driver cannot see the spotter, the driver needs to stop. So in summary, ground guides, you should always use a ground guide in any type of movement. It does not eliminate the risk of injuries or danger. However, if you're using proper PEE, ground guides, it drastically reduces the risk threat in the environment. Some references are always you're going to have your local SOPs and policies for the environment in which you are either working in, conducting in, or work for. You're also going to have equipment manuals and requirements. And then also there's the signals and general requirements out of OSHA, which is subsection 1926-1419. Are there any questions? If not, I'm going to quick go in and explain the evaluation. So the hands-on evaluation, there is a handout that will be distributed. But the handout, or I'm sorry, there's a handout that's going to be distributed for a pocket guide for you to take home. But then the evaluation for the hand signals is going to be a go or no-go evaluation. It's going to be an individually assessed, performance-based. And you are going to be given a condition and then a standard in which to perform that in. So failure to perform that will result in retraining and retesting. Have a great day.